Hello guys, welcome to ShaansLogic. This is me, Shaan, Naya, and I hope all of you are doing fine. In today's episode, we are going to meet someone who is really inspiring. I have always felt that there is a hero inside us and all around us. Let's just say a superhero, right? These people are common people with a superior heart and superior actions that make people around them extremely happy and make a big difference in their lives. Today I am meeting one such hero who likes to call himself the lover of oceans, beaches, jungles, mountains, rivers, rains and ducks. That's an interesting bio. Today I have with me Mr. Dipesh Tank. He's a social rights activist, volunteer or founder of Youth for People and WARR against Rail Rowdies. I told you, he's an amazing guy. Hello, how are you today?
I'm good, Shaan. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. Okay, now I have permission to call him Dipesh because he does not like to be called uncle. Now look at him, he's just as young as Okay, so today the first question that I want to ask you is, what motivated you to become a social rights activist?
So I feel that motivation plays a huge role in everybody's life, and for me, my motivation was also at times when people were not being able to do the things that they were wanting to, and even at times like when people are in trouble, that also becomes your motivation to do something for them, for marginalized, for people living in the grassroots. And that is one thing which made me realize, like, this beautiful country, India, that we live in, we always think about like what have I got from this country, but have you ever thought about giving it back to this country, and in what form? And not necessarily money or anyways, but in just pure form of service. So just the fact that I love my country and I want to give it back, and that is my motivation when it comes to giving it back and doing things for our country.
Yes, definitely. Motivation plays a huge role in doing all of these activities, and you yourself are a part of multiple organizations and you have founded them. So how do you manage to multitask all of these different organizations and work for them?
I never thought I would get answered this question, but let me answer this. Let me be correct in answering this. Well, it just happens for me at times because the journey has been quite interesting and adventurous, from starting working in a call center, moving on from there, working in radio, working in advertising, working in various other multinational organizations. But at the same time, I always felt that we can be who we are in our personal life, like, and work for our families and do the so-called karmas of taking care of our families. At the same time, being responsible in our society is extremely important. So I have always thought, like, in my free time, in times when I have an off, we can do small little kind of acts of kindness where you can be responsible, you can help the society. A great society forms a great state forms a great country. So I feel that if more number of people are socially responsible, and I don't want to talk like in a more cliched way of social work, but it is being socially responsible. Like, will I call it social work if I help my brother or if I have a child? No, right? So I would call it like it's part of my family, right? So this is an extended family. Your society you live in is an extended family, and if somebody needs help, and if you have those things to give it to them, then why not? Like, why would you shy off of who you are? Like, so I feel that being responsible is extremely important, and in that journey, a lot of things came in. Like, so it's been almost 5 years. I recently started working full time in development sector. So I thought, like, I used to work for a corporate, and I'm like, if whatever little ideas or I create or I do work to make them more rich, instead I use those ideas and try and use it for social change. And that's when I decided full time to work in a not-for-profit, where it was an anti-human trafficking organization. And since then the journey began, and currently I'm working for a cancer care organization and I'm leading the comms department. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
That's quite amazing how you managed to do all of these things. And you said that we should be responsible for the people around us and for ourselves. So when you see someone doing a bad action around us, like doing something like that, usually people see that, but they do not act or do any action to stop that. So what do you do when you see something like that?
So, I always feel that it's extremely important to stand up against things that are not right, which are not law by, or which are not against the concept of diversity and inclusion, and the whole concept of the idea of India, extremely important, because otherwise everything is going to be like in the most mundane thing. Everybody's going to shut their eyes and walk towards injustice that is happening around us. And I wouldn't say children should do this because until you're 18, you are responsibility of your parents, and extremely important, be cautious about how you act. But the least you can do is to go and tell that person that, hey, what you're doing is not right. And just smile at the person and then come back. You don't have to go and fight or any of that. But yeah, I would say stop the thing. Like, if there's something not right happening, then you go and tell that person. It is extremely important. The idea of India is to question, is to always raise issues which are concerning the common people. And similarly, if you see something not right happening around you, raise it up in the most peaceful way, so that you don't get into any kind of trouble. So I think we should at least get into doing that, and rather being just a blind spectator towards any form of injustice happening to our fellow brothers and sisters.
Okay. So you mentioned that as children we can just go to them and tell them, but usually how do you find courage or find the motivation to actually go and tell them? Because as children, the adults are like, wait, these children, like how can he tell us what is right? So how do we make our point across to them very clearly?
Like I said, courage comes when you see something and you feel compassionate towards that person. And then, like for example, if you're walking on the street and you see some men harassing women on the street, and which is not right, like what would the first thing in your mind be? Like, what if it's my sister, my friend, my girlfriend, my wife, or my mother? Will I still be quiet? No, right? I would go and tell that guy, like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. I would try and be less violent in that front, because I'm like, being aggressive is not going to help solve the problem. But I would probably go and call the police and tell them like this is happening, and pursue that entire thing rather than just walking away, because the chain effect of that particular incident is massive, because that same person will gain confidence in doing more and more such crime against women or anything else. So it's extremely important to make it difficult, if not to make him stop. But if you make it difficult for those people who are doing wrong, I think that will be the change. And I think the courage is something which you get it, like, there is no such injection or any kind of talk that I can give it to you to go and do something brave, but it happens on your own the moment you start contemplating about it. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yes, even I believe that, as children we should develop the habit of, saying if we see something wrong, we should act out and tell them something. Of course, not be aggressive about it, but try to stop the situation. So now, as children, we are going to be the future politicians, doctors, etc. Right? So, and we know, we are aware of all of these things are happening out there. But do you think our education system or in our schools, we should be taught things that, so that we can take action against these things?
Absolutely. Like, I think I personally have issues when it comes to the way Indian education system is. However, I will still say that education is extremely important. But formal education could not be the only way to be educated. I know so many people who are educated, but their thought process is so different and they are not inclusive. They don't come from the idea of keeping things together. So, which is very unfortunate. But I think, to understand what is the right thing to do, and unfortunately our education system does not teach you how to be today. Like, what do I do on the street? How do I react to certain situations in my life? So that is not being taught. But that also comes over time when you keep working within the society, when you start knowing more, you keep traveling, you realize like this is right, this is wrong. Like, a lot of times things that are happening in front of me may be wrong, but I may not realize it's wrong. So that sense of understanding what is right and wrong also comes from reading more about it. Like, I would always say this to children, that please do read the preamble of our country, the constitution, some part of it. Try and ask people to understand why this constitution was written. I mean, that's the most inclusive document with diversity and inclusion that you could ever see in the entire country. And that is the real India, like the whole concept of being respecting everybody's religion, language, food, and the clothes that they wear is the idea of India. And the moment you understand that and just apply that formula across your society, in your house, in your workplace, then I think that would be an ideal citizen, in my opinion. So yeah, that would be my answer to the question.
Okay. Now, I want to share my experience in school. As children, we are taught that blue is a color for boys, pink is a color for girls, right? And even during sports, if some boy falls down and they start hurt themselves and they cry, the teachers themselves say, stop crying like a girl. So what do you think about that? Like, how do we stop that, that cliche thing that pink is for girls, blue is for boys? How do we do
so, in 2013, and this will be a little longer answer because there's a context to set, I started an initiative called WARR against Rail Rowdies. This was primarily because I saw a bunch of guys who were harassing women who were standing on the platform, and at no fault of theirs. Like, we live in this country, nobody has right to disrespect or outrage someone's modesty just because they come from a different gender. And that is wrong. At every level it's wrong. Like, you can't do that. So we set up this group called WARR, and it's still going on. Unfortunately, out of business because of COVID. But primary job is to patrol in the train and to catch these men who harass women in Mumbai local trains. And till today we have rescued, we've caught about 170 plus guys who have been literally harassing women, from whistling to touching to various other offences. And that initiative took a very long time to get established. And I often keep thinking about it, like, what is that problem? Why do men do this? Why do people do this? And that, in my opinion, and I'm not an expert on this, but I feel that the answer to that is one word: it's conditioning. We are so conditioned since our childhood of how certain things will be. Like, you go to a girl child's birthday party, what would you give that girl child? You give her a Barbie doll, a frock, and that to a pink color with flowers on it. You will make the girl do all the feminine stuff, like, which is very easy to do in the household. So if you have to go outside and bring something, then you send the boy child, to go and get it, right? And if you want to make her to do something household, like jhadu marna, pocha marna, all that things you make her. Now the problem is that has been happening all the time, and that conditioning of masculinity and feminism, conditioning, that has been happening for such a long time in all our childhood. And I would say I'm also conditioned to a certain level to think that way, and that causes a lot of problem, because then you always see from that point of view. And one of the biggest culprit, in my opinion, is the way our entertainment industry functions. Like, you think about songs, "Ladki dekhi, muh se siti, baje haath se tali," and you have like the two of the biggest heroes of Bollywood, and people are inspired looking at him. And you slap a girl, like recent movie Kabir. I don't know, there's this recent movie called Kabir Singh. Like, you saw in that movie, like, so bad. Like, then night he asked her to remove her clothes and all of that. Like, that is wrong. That is wrong at every goddamn level, because then you are inspiring people. There's a reason why they put a sign of no smoking whenever that happens, because you don't want to encourage that. But at the liberty of creativity, you let that thing happen. But violence against women, if it's been so glorified, or the movie plot, the guy is always behind a stalking her, which is an offense, by the way. If anybody listening to this talk, you should go and read a IPC 354 ABCD. In that, if you go behind a girl without her consent, that is a crime, and that is a non-believable offense. So you show that guy doing that, and then later the girl is falling in love with that guy. It's a wrong precedent. It doesn't happen that way. Like, I'm sorry, you have to be respectful towards your opposite gender, and you have to ask. You can ask her, like, "Hey, I'm interested in you. Do you like me?" If she says no, you can't pursue her then, and you can do it in a respectful way, but you can't make her feel terrible about her gender. So conditioning, in my opinion, is one of the biggest evil that we are living in today's time, and it is in every form, whether it's crime against women, crime against marginalized people, crime against minorities. We've been taught that way, like, 15th August, right, just went yesterday. Everybody wears a national flag. My country, I love my country. That one day, 26 Jan, that one day. And loving your country does not mean abusing another country or saying things about another country or a community. Loving your country means taking care of the problems of your country and trying to fix them. That is loving your country. So if you really say, when I say I love my country, I will go and find issues in my country and I'll fix it. I'm not going to sit back and just like, oh yeah, if you say some things about Pakistan or you say some certain things about China, oh, that means you're really patriotic. No, patriotism is not that. Loving your country, patriotism is about trying to fix the problem of your country, which are society, which are like against malnutrition, hunger, you name it. There's so many things there, which is there. Like you go 150 kilometers away from Mumbai and you'll find so many problems which people are living, our tribal brothers and sisters who are living in that region. So how do you fix that problem? And that is really taking care of your country. So yeah, to answer your question, like I said, conditioning is one of the most biggest evil, which has been lying around us, and it subconsciously is also happening a lot.
What are some advices you have for people of our age for us to be happy and motivated?
I know most of the teenagers like you and people who are listening are in this beautiful phase of trying to know the world, the society, yourself. I would say just start off with really extremely small kind of compassion, trying to understand what is needed. Like it could be as simple as feeding your stray animals. It could be as simple as teaching somebody something. It could be as small as reading the constitution, the preamble of this country, and trying to understand. If you find certain words, just gain that knowledge on the idea of how this country was set up. That's extremely important. And you don't really have to go and shift mountains. It's too much pressure, I feel, that on children that we all put in. But just small act of kindness is a great way to shape up your future, of who you are. Try and see what is your foundation like, where do you come from, what do you like to be, and what is not right. And if you understand these basic questions, if you ask this to yourself, you will shape up your own pathway. And it'll be very easy for me to say go and teach somebody, do something, but find something that you really love and you're passionate about and you want to do in life. That is a great way to initiate and start taking small steps towards the larger journey of life. So I would say that, yeah.
Okay. And how can people, people of our age, teenagers, me, my friends, how can we support your cause, your, organization? How can we take part in it?
Thank you very much for that. Well, you can start off with knowing what Youth for People is. It was started in 2006 during the Mumbai train bomb blast. And the primary objective was to mobilize the young energy and trying to make them socially responsible in whatever small, big way, in whatever possible way. So if you like Youth for People's Facebook page and Instagram page, you will keep getting the updates. We do every year support 50,000 children with notebooks. As simple as just providing them notebooks. We give them bicycles to, an average child travels to about 2 to 10 kilometers to just go to the school. Right, so we try and give them bicycles so that their time go to the access to education is less and they can focus on more creativity and all that. So, and we've been doing a lot of events on beach cleaning, and of course WARR is one of our events. But wherever you fit in, and you feel I want to contribute in this area of working, come in touch with us, write to us on our Facebook page and on our Instagram page, and we'll be happy to work together.
Amazing. And how do you find the energy to do all of these things? I mean, you're exactly like a superhero, like Superman.
No man, I'm as scared as probably each one of you listening. But I think sometimes there's a lot of angst against what's not right, and you want to channelize it. Either you scream it out or you just fight it out. But when you channelize it, probably that's what I'm coming. I don't do yoga, but I do a lot of cycling and all of that. But the point is that channelize it. If you feel something is not right, don't just vent it out. Try and keep it and channelize it in commitment of doing something in that form, in that particular cause that you feel passionate about. So that you don't fall short of fuel in near future. Because there are a lot of disappointments. You say I want to work for the cause of children's education, but it's not going to be easy, right? It's going to be extremely hard, and there's a lot of hurdles in between. So this angst can also be converted into fuel and inspiration, where you can not let yourself stop.
Amazing. Now, I feel this interview has been extremely informative, and I myself have learned quite a few things, and I hope your audience have learned quite a few things. Mr. Dipesh here, he looks like any common person like all of us, but then he is actually the winner of multiple awards, one of them being the Mumbai Mirror Hero Award. He has also given multiple TED Talks and Josh Talks, which I feel are really motivating and interesting. You can also check more about him and his organizations on his Facebook page, Instagram, and we always have Google, right? And yeah, you can also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Don't forget to check that out as well.
That's right, but I would also say you should subscribe to ShaansLogic YouTube channel and Blij Talk. That is on
Spotify,
Google Podcast, and everywhere. I think it's quite a kid.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.